Get ready to break molds and blaze trails. Welcome to the Chelsey Holm podcast, your shortcuts to wellness, business, and growth with a twist. Let's flip the script and unlock your full potential together. Welcome to today's episode. If you don't have these two things, you are not going to grow. Do you know what they are? I'm about to tell you. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, as I said last week, I am audio only from here on out because I am on the go all the time. I am solo parenting with Zach in Kansas doing his next Army school. And yeah, I'm either in the car or at a practice or at an appointment or road tripping. So right now I'm currently at Gabe's baseball tryout, and audio only it is because it makes it much easier for me, and I love podcasting and I want to get this content to you because this is so important. Okay, so what are the two most important things that you have to have or you will not grow? They are belief and having a growth mindset. So let's start with growth mindset, because what is a growth mindset? Well, let's talk about what a growth mindset is not. A fixed mindset is the opposite of a growth mindset. A fixed mindset looks at everything as set in stone. Can't change it. It is the way it is. Common sayings like it is what it is. Can't do anything about it. It's my lot in life. The cards I've been dealt. All the things like that, right? All those variations. Essentially, it moves into that victim status of things are happening to me. And so it takes away the control, the power. There's a lot that we can't control, right? But there's so much we can control. But a fixed mindset takes that control away and is almost as if you're a raft on the ocean and you're going to go wherever the heck that tide is pulling you. Now let's look at a growth mindset on the opposite hand. Looks at everything as perspective, through perspective. And the perspective is that you can focus on the things that you can control and can change, so it gives you your power back. It also looks at problems as opportunities for growth. It looks at failures as lessons to be learned. It looks at life through a completely different lens. And that is honestly the key, is that nothing is fixed. Everything is changeable with the right mindset and the right perspective. And that is not looking at anything like it's fixed, but that you can control the things that you can control, and everything else will work itself out. It's telling yourself, like, I can figure this out. All things are figure outable. This is, there's nothing new under the sun, and this is another challenge that I can grow through. So what are we going to learn today, kind of thing. And so when we're thinking about the two in comparison, you can see that if you have a fixed mindset, you're not going to want to show up. You're not going to have the energy, the desire, none of it. But if you look at a growth mindset, because it's giving you your control and your power back, you're going to look at everything totally different. It's almost like you're putting on a completely different shade of glasses, and now everything is rose-colored or yellow-colored. I don't know what color you want to pick. But that's essentially what it is. So that's the first piece, that if you want to grow, you have to have a growth mindset. If you don't have a growth mindset, you will not grow. Honestly, you probably aren't listening to this podcast if you have a fixed mindset, because this podcast is about growth. And so I would say we all have growth mindsets here at some level, some capacity, right? We have that desire to grow. We have that desire to change things. We know that our results are produced by us, right? By our thinking, the way that we choose to show up, the way that we carry ourselves, the values that we hold, the beliefs that we hold. With that note, the second thing that you have to have in order to grow is belief. Belief that it's possible. Because if you don't believe that it's possible, your brain is going to look at that and say no. It's like, wanting to be a millionaire and then looking at your bank account and it says $0 and your brain's like, you're not a millionaire, right? But it's not necessarily seeing the results. It's just believing that the results are possible for you. And the best way to foster this kind of belief is two ways. The first one is to get around other people who have what it is, who are what you're wanting to become, who are doing the things that you know are necessary in order to grow, or who are doing things that you don't know yet that will teach you. Being around people like that and putting yourself in company of people who are already where you want to go is going to be always the first step. Like, you got to raise your vibe and get around other people. If you're constantly surrounded by broke people, it's not going to be surprising that you continue to remain broke. Also, when you're surrounded by people who, think in a broke capacity, they're also going to have habits and behaviors that support that kind of thinking, because our thoughts drive our behaviors, the things we do or don't do, and that creates our outcomes. It's the stories, right? It's the belief. And so raising our belief, if we don't get around people who have already done it, it's going to be a real challenge for our brains to wrap around the growth and getting uncomfortable, the necessity of getting uncomfortable in order to grow. And then the second way is to work with a coach who is going to be able to identify your limiting beliefs, your stories, but not just the underlying story, but the way that it's like those, you got a mole when there's a molehill. But what you don't see under the ground is you have all these different tunnels, right, leading back to a nest. This is like yesterday. Oh my gosh, I was addressing the weed problem in our yard, and we actually took down the kids' swing set because it was just getting old and rotten wood, and we had every intention of getting a new one, but we just didn't get around to it. And so the area where this old swing set play place had been was starting to be overrun. And so I went out there with my work gloves and attempted to pull these weeds out. Well, let me just tell you, these were not just weeds. These were multiple locations of like bushes with root systems that went like a foot down. Okay, like there's no pulling that out with your hands, especially when there's landscape tarp or paper or whatever the heck it's called. So it turned into a huge task. I had to get the shovel out. I had to dig way down. Then I realized these were all connected, and so then I'm trying to like find the mother plant and chop it out. And it was just, and that's what happens when we have limiting beliefs. Like, there is an underlying core belief that is driving everything, but then we also have these offshoots of limiting beliefs that are indicators that crop up that like are showing the tip of that iceberg, like Kinder Hall likes to talk about. And a coach is going to be able to uncover the underlying root limiting belief a lot of times by these smaller molehills that are popping up, these smaller thoughts, these sayings that indicate a deeper problem. And we have to get to the root underlying issue so that we can pull the whole thing out and it doesn't continue to take root. And that's why it's a practice, right? Like, it's not something that, we rewrite our belief and so now all of a sudden everything changes overnight. No, you have formed these neural connections in your brain for probably your whole life. And it takes a while to rewire them. But the good news is, if you have a growth mindset and you're looking at your brain, understanding how it is neuroplastic, which means it's constantly wiring, rewiring, strengthening connections, getting rid of old connections, you realize how much control and power you have in this through the practice of it. And so those are the two big big things that you have to have in order to grow. You have to be able to raise your belief, and you have to have a growth mindset to have the perspective that it's possible in the first place. And so this is why, as a coach, I use causal coaching method, which gets to that underlying root limiting belief. So then you can rewrite it. You can understand that you are creating your outcomes by the stories, the beliefs that you're carrying. And also, you can use certain techniques like RED, which helps to identify these limiting beliefs in the moment, in real time, in your life, when you see them crop up or hear them in your head. And, then you can, instead of shocking your brain and, going into this freeze zone, you can actually bridge gap these thoughts so that it's believable, so that your brain can create these new stories and believe them to a certain extent, and make your brain work for you through confirmation bias to find the solutions, right? Instead of working against you to keep you safe and in the known. And so that's why I use that technique, because it doesn't do any good just to give you a strategy if you're continuing to tell yourself that I'm worthless and this isn't possible for me, right? Like, that's not helpful. The cool thing is, when you do the mindset work, then you could use any strategy that is aligned through your strengths and take action and get the results that you actually want, and usually exponentially growing way faster and bigger than you ever even thought possible. So I wanted to leave you with this today, to challenge you to think through, how are you fostering a growth mindset in your life? And if there are areas where you are practicing a fixed mindset, how can you shift over to a growth mindset? And then the second part of this is the belief. How can you raise your belief today? Is it getting around people, getting in the room with people who are better than you, more successful than you? Or, is it working with me one-on-one as a coach? If you're not quite ready to jump into coaching, then go grab my mini mindset mastery course. It's $45. I literally walked through it the other night because I wanted to make sure that it was something quick, efficient, that is going to help people to start the story mindset work, understand how your brain works if you're new to just how your brain works. And it's something that you're actually going to go start to finish and can do quickly. I sat there, I watched the videos, took me less than an hour. It comes with a beautiful workbook that I made that really helps you to take what you learned and personalize it and go through your own stories. And so I would say maybe another hour, so 2 hours max for this course. And it's a great place to start for people who are just getting into mindset training and learning, and want a simple yet effective place to start. But if you're someone who's like, another course, I know I'm not going to go through it, I know I'm going to need more help than that, then I recommend you schedule a clarity call right now. What we do on this call is you share your biggest struggle right now. Like, what do you think is blocking your ability to grow, to get the results that you want? I give you some feedback live in the moment. We do some story work, pinpoint a story. It might be a molehill. It might be the underlying belief, depending on how much time we have. And then typically what people will do is we will actually schedule a secondary call going through the different ways that I can best serve you if we're a good fit and if you want my help. And then at the end of the call, I always give an actionable step that you can take right away that's going to help you to grow. All right, I hope you enjoyed this today. I hope you're challenged. I hope that you have clarity on the fact that you need a growth mindset and belief, my friend. Take care.
Thanks for joining the Chelsey Holm podcast journey. If you've enjoyed challenging the norm and embracing growth with a twist, share the love. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, keep defying expectations and keep leaning into who God made you to be.